Women in Afghanistan living in fear as the reality of Taliban rule returns. A Taliban spokesman says this time will be different, telling the New York Times, quote, "We are worried our forces, who are new and have not yet been trained very well, may mistreat women. For now, we are asking them to stay home until the situation gets normal." 3 female veterans join us now: Lisa Bodenberg, a Marine Corps veteran; Jasmine Booth, a retired major in the U.S. Army; and Stacy Washington, who served in the Air Force. Ladies, thank you all for being with me this morning. Stacy, you know, that's what sticks out to me about what we just said and what we just read is so many of the Taliban fighters and people that will be on the ground weren't actually the people that were there before enforcing Sharia law. And by the same token, so many of the young women in Afghanistan were born in a period with freedoms that they're now going to be giving up. They never lived under the Taliban because they were born in the last 20 years. What can they expect?
Well, if you look back to the last time the Taliban had influence there in Afghanistan, they executed strict Sharia law. So that meant that women who are currently working alongside men, serving in government, really working as aircraft mechanics, these women are doing amazing things, just like American women. They will be rolled back into a slave status. They will not be allowed to speak in public. Their face has to be covered from head to toe, down to their feet. They can't show their feet, wrists, ankles, hands, or their eyes. They have to have a mesh covering over the little slit in the burqa that allows them to see. They can't be seen on their balconies. They can't walk around in their own front yards because no man who's unrelated to you is allowed to actually look upon you. They can't be represented in print or magazines or on television or in movies. It's the erasure of women. And I'm talking about, little girls who are currently running around with their faces out, playing in shorts and T-shirts. All of them will have to be covered in burqas. And the Taliban are already going door to door and taking girls as young as 12 for quote unquote wives. So we're talking about the complete erasure of rights for women in Afghanistan. And it's such a shame.
Lisa, as somebody who fought in Afghanistan and in many ways fought not just to protect Americans and ensure that terrorism didn't find its way to our soil, but as we were invested in the project, fought to help women and people in Afghanistan live a different way, live with liberties that we've become accustomed to. How does it feel, or as you watch this basically not unfold, but revert to the status of where we first went in?
It's a feeling that is very difficult to put into words. Many of us are very heartbroken right now. We feel as if all of our efforts were almost for nothing. And I have to keep reminding myself and reminding my fellow veterans that it was not for nothing. And one of the biggest things that I continue to remind everyone is that we may have gone there because our president told us to. We may have gone there originally for political reasons. But ultimately, the people on the ground, the people like myself, we went there for each other. We have to continue to remind ourselves that I went there for the Marine to my left and to my right. And what came of that was fruitful. And it was a taste of democracy that these people deserve. And now they've become accustomed to. And now we are reverting and we're ripping that away from them. And it's heartbreaking, to say the least.
Jasmine, is this the ending that you fought for? Is this the ending that you imagined when you went to Afghanistan?
I actually didn't serve in Afghanistan. I did serve for 17 years. My husband is an Afghanistan veteran, and so is my husband, and have many friends that lost lives in service to this war. And we all have to say, what's important is the Taliban is the elephant in the room. Things will go back to where they were. And as you said earlier, and my counterparts, there were babies who were born there under our protection that were allowed to go to school as little girls, that were allowed to get an education, who've known the freedoms that we were there during our safety and stability operations, who will now have that ripped from them, and God knows what will happen to them. So it is very hard to know that for some of our counterparts that lost their lives, to help them have a different tomorrow and a different future. To now see some of that, definitely their lives are not in vain, but I would have hoped for a different outcome for the service and sacrifices of my brothers and my sisters. And at this point in time, I think a lot of us are conflicted as to what's going to happen and to the legacy that they left behind, unfortunately.
Yeah, babies born into freedom, raised in freedom, protected, inspired by the American military, and now it will be ripped away. Ladies, thank you for joining me, and thank you all for your service.
Thank you.